the trainers, to be able to sort of explain and understand. So it's important to sort of design a system which would be about that. You build for low bandwidth. You just will assume that there is low bandwidth and connectivity issues, and you're going to have to solve for that. You're going to have to solve for offline use. You're going to solve for WhatsApp or SMS-based delivery in some cases. So that's another sort of design element. And I think, we've touched upon it. It's critical in when you're talking about underserved learners at this point, to build that confidence and the trust. So ethical, responsible AI being embedded, the governance frameworks, that's the only way, if you keep that at the core, that's the only way you're going to start getting the confidence of users to continuously adopt AI. So I think whether our experience, whether it's been with non-profits, whether it's been with the users like the women, or in ecosystem collaborations like I've touched upon, with the government or other industry, I think we need to solution for each of the stakeholders, whether they're users, whether they're facilitators, or the actual people designing it. So I think that coming together using some of these principles is what probably will work. And we're learning, I think, as we go along. We learn at every point.
No, and I know Accenture's commitment to really working with community-based interventions has been a long one. And from my own association with Anudip, I think keeping the final user in the center has been a core principle for all of you. And so this is a lot of validation for the work Anudip has been doing as well. Thank you so much. Manju, just from your perspective, I think there's a lot of fear and concern associated with what is happening with AI and what AI can become. It's kind of trying to figure out how do you deal with a deluge like that as such. What would be your advice to the practitioners and experts here to say that, how do you address that fear?
Matushi, I'm not really sure that I have seen much. I feel very fortunate. So when I look across all the countries that Microsoft is working in, I look at my peers in other markets, I feel that we're fortunate that we haven't seen a lot of the fear sentiment in India. And I am not saying that's not going to happen. I think largely we're still talking about optimism. What we are saying is how do we make the promise of AI more real? From being a construct, from being a potential, from being a dream, and saying India will become, is the AI first nation. How do you translate that statement into what does it mean for me that I'm a student today in maybe a PhD, a CM3, or maybe even in a government school? What does it mean for me? So I haven't really seen fear too much, so I can't respond to that. However, I think as a practitioner and somebody who's been in the field, there are certain red flags that I have noticed, and that's why I will use this platform to table those, because I think all of us are building programs, technology, product solutions all together. And I think first one that has bothered me personally, and I'm not representing my organization when I say this, that is Manju who's speaking, is that it assumes very quietly AI, any design, any program, assumes privilege, assumes that most people are English speaking and that there is stable internet connectivity, that they all have devices. But that's not really the case, because all of us work with groups that you can't assume this about. And I think when you're talking about the potential of AI, if you're going to talk about that, keeping that English-speaking, urban, formal employment in mind first, we'll end up excluding a lot of people. So I would say that I think one fear that I have is that can we, as we look at programming, designing, everything, keep the most marginalized first? Because if you build programs for them, you're likely going to end up including everyone else. So I think that's one I have. I think the second fear that I have, so I think we talked about fear, but I think I'm talking about my fear, is that AI is not a technology construct for me. If there's anything I've learned in the last 2 years, this has been that, right? That it is a very much a societal transition construct. And AI is moving at such a fast pace, or any technology, it could be quantum tomorrow, right? So technology is moving at a fast pace. How do we all come together? So I think if there's one thing that this collaboration can achieve is, how do we help our public institutions? So institutional capacity building is the only way such is to be sustainable, right? That really is the only thing we can do going ahead. How do we kind of come together to see how we can support systems, right? And I think, again, the point being that even if you're looking at your own project, it could be doing only one project with one donor. How do you build something that can be taken forward? So I think that's the second fear I have, is that we must look at it in the context of the society, systems change rather than AI leading to, I think, something. I would say that these two are the top fears for me, and I think, again, bringing the point that let's keep it relevant. What does it really matter? So if you're building a program for teachers, are we talking to the teachers about why do they care about AI at all? Do they even care about it? So farmers, do they care about AI? Anybody cares about it? So keeping that at the center is important. I think people are already started doing it, but the first two, I would say, my own fear.
Totally. Thank you so much. This has been really, really helpful. Just in terms of really pushing hard on the relevance piece, making sure that we are looking for solutions with the final user in mind, making sure that you're trying to collaborate as much as possible, because very seldom in trying to address the needs of the last mile, we forget that solutions are sitting at the confluence of various actors and policies and actions. Absolutely. So with that, actually, I will throw the the panel inputs from the audience to understand if there are any questions for any of our panel members.
I would like to ask Manjuji why you have so much fears about what you have expressed.
Can we have a mic passed on?
I did say that these are personal fears, right? Like I'm quite clear on that. I think the reason I have these fears is that sometimes you can get swayed by the potential only, and I think we have to keep a balance between the potential and what the reality currently is. Potential sometimes can be very at the surface level, right? So what all of us are committed to is making AI a public good. So how do you translate from AI being something that is being seen as where take India to the growth trajectory? If that is the case, how do you make sure that inclusion is the launch pad? I think that's the one thing that I'm concerned about. And I'm also concerned about, really, if you can see my grey hair, I've been in the sector for 35 years or more.
Grey, but turned into black.
So one worry I have is that inclusion is always a catch-up game. Something has happened, it has gone, the bus has gone, let's make all the underserved, underprivileged now catch up that bus. With AI, you have the first two opportunity that all of us can be at the starting point at the same time or at the end at the same time, right? So, but technology is also moving at a pace that we're not even able to, none of us, not even the industry is able to cope up with. I think that's really where my fear is coming from. It's not a fear, but it's something that we have to be mindful. So I'm just using this space that has been provided by Monisha and Anudip to just table that.
Thank you for that. No, that's true. I think building in the principles of equity is an opportunity as well for us. We have seen what the tech inclusion has actually led to. Absolutely. Any other questions?
Yeah, ma'am.
If you can just introduce yourself with the one line.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yudhishthir Yadav, and I'm heading Training and Placement Department at IPM Group of Institutions. It's located in Ghaziabad, Noida. Ma'am, my question is to Jyoti ma'am. We are having a collaboration with NASSCOM, and we are partner with NASSCOM. IPM is partner with NASSCOM. As we were talking about the collaborations between the industry, between the government, It's my urge generally that being a partner with the industries like you all, can we have some upbringing for the students? See, generally, right now we are having the different portals or something. But as a student, I say what I've that when we are giving a learning platform to them, we have to push them that they should go online and learn and these things. Can we conduct some offline sessions for the students so that the partner students can be on the benefited side? And as the corporates, you can help the institutions to grow.
So, if your question is, can we have the offline ones? I would say definitely. I mean, the learning that we are propagating, it should also both be online because we know what the advantages to that are, but we also have offline where we have centers of our own. But I would say I'll go one step further and say eventually, I think whatever learning they do in the skilling centers should be propagated also with internships to make them, wherever that's possible, that is, make sure that the learning is really put into practice. So definitely, I don't, like I said, we are in a stage where we believe that we are in this with continuous scope for improvement. And wherever opportunities arise, there is scope, we should really embed that learning to as practical as it can be, with internships, with the soft skills they need to take up their first job, with alumni networks where they stay connected even after taking their first job, to ensure that they tide over the initial newness of working. For a lot of the people that we work with, we know that they are first generation learners and sometimes first generations to take up a job, a white collar job. So I don't think we disagree there.
Thank you so much.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Hari. I'm from Goodera. At Goodera, we facilitate volunteering opportunities for corporate employees. That's what we do at Goodera. We also cater to some of the companies represented here. So that's what my question has to do with, and it's for anyone to take. From your experience with many programs and projects that you work with, can you talk about some ways in which employee volunteers have been able to contribute meaningfully and impactfully, specifically in the sphere of AI?
I think it's still early days in terms of exactly how an employee would contribute in terms of AI. But for example, in Accenture, all of us go through AI training. It's, we don't get our bonuses if we don't take AI training. Okay? So I would assume every one of our 300,000 people in India has some basic knowledge of AI. And when we have partners like Anudip or several of our non-profit partners that are doing basic AI training, what our people do is actually support that. And what I mean by support that is the training is given by the trainers, but our people also understand the basic concepts. So when they go out and volunteer, it's something that they can help. It's almost like remedial reading, right? When you have young children. It's the same when you're talking about it, but it needs to be contextualized. If you're going and speaking to in a program which has construction workers, how does it matter unless it's relevant to them, at that point in time? So I think that's something volunteers can do. I go one step further. I know, again, like we said, AI is that promise. But are they able to even get trained in AI in a local language? I mean, that may not be. So sometimes that translation is what someone sitting in Delhi can hopefully do it in English. Someone sitting in Tamil Nadu maybe can help, convey the import, the relevance of AI in the local language. And I think that's really what an entire network of volunteers can do. And it can also be one step further, just communication. Half the problem is that you're not able to communicate what exactly your fears are about AI as a practitioner. And that's the bridge that volunteers, because it's usually a lot of them are young people and students relate to them. So I would urge
an entire, like a Budera platform to be able to actually do that, to build that connectivity. Organizations are always looking for opportunities for volunteers, and I think non-profits sometimes can get overwhelmed and get a lot of volunteers wanting to do that, but there is a place for it, and I think volunteers can definitely do it. So we do that quite often.
Thank you, Kshitija. Satyajit.
Yeah, I just wanted to share, I think employee volunteering is of course, I didn't expect to pick that up here, but thanks for sharing. We have a very interesting, part of our CSR program this year, we were able to drive tremendous volunteering. I think we have close to about 80% of our employees have volunteered this year, which meant they put in 2-3 hours of work. And some of the volunteers this year, in fact, worked with some schools that we work with, and they developed an AI program for students, right? So, and we found that it was a great way for them to sort of pass on the skills they have learned. And we, of course, I think it's just been 6 months or 1 year, or under a year that this has happened. But I think volunteering is a great sort of tool to pass on this entire social responsibility story from just the corporates to the employee workforce. So thanks for bringing it up.
One question I have to Mr. Satyajit.
Oh,
So we talked a lot about usability, acceptability and all. And even we talked about ethics. Let us take an example of crypto, where it is accepted, but due to the absence of regulatory framework, we are stuck in between. So, are we looking into the AI regulatory things as of now, or just we are looking about a small 1-2 privacy law, that what happened with the block on X and all? So, are we building into that, or this model is going to fail in future near 10 to 15 years?
So there's a lot of work happening on, responsible AI. In fact, while this is happening, we are all part of various NASCOM initiatives and various other initiatives with the government on bringing in, the responsibility elements into AI. I think crypto is an interesting story, but crypto's got issues around the world. It's not only in India. I feel bad for people obviously who invested into them, or of course good for people who invested early, mined them and were able to get rid of them early. But yeah, look, ultimately government can do that much. Industry obviously will look at doing whatever it needs to do. But I think definitely it's very important for civil society and people to also bring up their points, right? Because see, ultimately you brought up a great point of all of the stuff which has happened with Grok and these images. And frankly, there are many. When you talk about the great things that AI can do, I'm sure the points about deep fakes, etc. There are many probably harmful sides to it. But that's the case with any technology or any tool that you pick up, right? So, but I think it's a good question. Maybe it could form, like a completely separate discussion, right?
Proper conversation.
About it. But thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah. Thanks, Satyajit. I will request Manju. I'm sorry, I don't think we can take more questions, but the panelists will be available after this, I'm assuming. So please ask them your questions. But before I sort of come back with my last line, I would request Manju to talk about the earlier question about volunteering.
okay. Maybe an interesting way of volunteering, and I'll talk about the Changemaker program we have, and many of you are already in panel as part of Microsoft's non-profit. So interestingly, we always think about beneficiary when we look at an employee volunteering program. The Changemaker is a program where we have our employees who become a champion of a non-profit. So they work with non-profits for an extended period of time. And essentially their role is, how do they look at all the assets that Microsoft has, not just CSR, and how do they become a conduit to connect the non-profit to whatever assets Microsoft has. So it's called a Changemaker. The Changemaker is actually an employee. So just wanted to kind of just bring people that.
That's a great thought, actually. Yeah. So before I end, I just want each of my panelists to speak. We've really touched upon several areas, really talking about scale, relevance, figuring out, how do you address the idea of something that will work for a large number of people, collaborations, and keeping it human first, right? I just want each of you to sort of tell me one thing that you would like to leave the audience with. Could be a sentence, could be a couple of sentences, but one thing that you think needs to be borne in mind that it's of critical importance. And I'll start with Jyoti and Jyoti.
Really, if there's one thing I'd like to leave with, which I think had been with us when we came in, is that this digital revolution or AI, it's meant to be inclusive. This is, I genuinely feel, that is the opportunity to make sure that when we talk about or think about India in 2047, it cannot be said in the same breath if it's not inclusive.
Totally agree. I think the user is at the center. It has to be responsible AI, of course, but keeping the end user at the center. When you're designing, when you're communicating, when you're training, it's really the user that's critical.
Thank you so much.
Because the panel was a collaboration, I would say that these boundaries that we often think about, government, industry, non-profits, I think in some way they have to kind of blend. And I think trust between all of us is very critical as we look at AI, equity and inclusion. So it's just a given.
Wonderful.
So I think, collaboration is important. I think for me, the word that I'll sort of leave with is probably responsibility. And I would also say, while users at that center, but somewhere for many of these new technologies, the users also the product, users data is basically, ultimately fueling, I guess, the growth of the entire technology. So I think responsibility, ethics, and just making sure there are some guardrails, I think, are very important.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for patiently hearing us. Thank you for this opportunity to bring together this elite group of practitioners and experts, I would say. So, it was really a pleasure. So with that, I just hand it over.
Thank you, Motish ma'am. Thank you to our esteemed panelists. Please stay back on the dais as we have our felicitation right now. So, as a mark of the appreciation, we would now like to formally felicitate the panelists. I invite Mr. Manoj Kumar Singh, Vice President, Finance, Accounting and Administration from Anudip, to kindly join us on stage to felicitate our speakers. thank you again to our panelists and also to our audience who asked really relevant questions to our panelists, to our moderator. So now we will begin with a very exciting segment at Anudip, which we call Cup of Connect. So you must have heard about Chai Pe Charcha, right? So it's something similar to that, but with our CEO, Ms. Monisha Banerjee, Anudip Foundation, who will be speaking to our students at Anudip. So may I please request Ms. Monisha ma'am to join us on stage and also our students, the future leaders of our country. Thank you so much. I request all the students to please be on the stage. This will be a very short session. After this, we will have lunch.
I just go for the next talking for our students. Thank you for being here. I want you so to inspire and motivate all of us. Three of you, I'd like you to maybe quickly you take your microphones, take a couple of minutes to introduce yourselves, your what you've been doing, what you did before you joined Anudip, what are you doing now, and then I'll follow it up with questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. So, my name is Shubham. I have done Anudip's data visualization training, and right now I am working as a junior AI engineer at Cloudstore. So, my day-to-day responsibilities includes building AI solutions. So, I usually work with technologies like RAG, Gen AI, Agentic AI, and model fine-tuning. That's all.
And you did your where are you from?
I am from Mirzapur, Uttar Pradesh.
And you did your BTech?
Yes, sir.
How did you do how did you sort of decide to do BTech? What was the history?
Yeah, so I came from a small village, so with no prior experience or no prior exposure to technology or no mentor to guide me. So when I came to do BTech, so it was completely new to me. Every technology was completely new to me. So like initially I started with different tools. For example, I started with Python, Power BI, NumPy and Pandas. Then when I kept going so deep, I initially came to know about machine learning, deep learning. So working with those technologies, I improved myself, and that is the journey of getting.
Okay, thank you. Harsha.
Actually, this is my first time. I hope I'm audible. Yes. So actually, this is my first time speaking at such a huge platform, and I would like to request all of you to please excuse me if I fumble sometimes. But I would also like to thank Anudip Foundation for giving me this opportunity to be here. And so, a very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harsha, and I'm associated with Anudip Foundation from the Gurgaon Center, where I did my data analytics and AI focused training program. Currently, I'm working as a junior AI engineer. So my responsibilities include developing and implementing AI and machine learning solutions. I also help build and improve data science workflows, ML ops pipelines, and stuff like that. And I also help assist my senior team members while contributing to the overall team goals. Through this role, I would say I'm gaining hands-on experience on implementing and applying AI solutions to real-world problems.
So what were you doing? What was the course that you did? What is your degree?
Yeah, I did my bachelor's in data science.
Data science. And what made you join Anudip?
Actually, it was I needed a starting point. Actually, my basics were very weak initially. And, my parents encouraged me to go for engineering. It wasn't me at first. So, to help me, get some push from some outsources, So I thought that if I connect with Anudip, then I would get a basic source to start from somewhere. So that thing really helped me come up here today.
So it was more your parents' decision and that it sort of probably
Yeah, it
Tell me
was
about that.
Yeah, now I'm very grateful. Actually, I did it.
Shiva.
Hello everyone, this is Shivam from Trinity Institute of Special Studies from Anudip Foundation. So I started my journey from my schooling. I just don't know about my course BCA. I pursued BCA. So after I knowing that BCA is such a course in IB University, I just get to know that this is many more things to learn in tech parts. So firstly, I am a gold medalist in throw ball at national level, and I was not supposed to do BCA first. My parents just told me to do BCA because I'm a commerce background student. So on that behalf, I was just started learning